Wednesday. Today we have episode 15, and it is actually a mini episode with just me. So, we are in the end of April, which means our high season is around the corner. Bright season is almost here. Usually teeth whitening is a very hot commodity between the months of end of May to end of September. Now, why is this? End of May is going to be that prom grad season in most areas. And then, of course, there's summer. So lots of events, lots of weddings. And then usually September is the last hot month for weddings, but also the beginning of September, you kind of hit that back to school rush, which is going to be your teachers, your students, etc. So I really wanted to make this Whitening Wednesday mini about how to set you up for success as we enter this high season. Let's get organized. If we want to have a very successful season, we need to make sure that our base level is strong, and then we can build on top of it. If we don't have a solid base, how the heck are we going to stay grounded and grow if our base is going to crumble? So let's dive into how to make sure we are organized and solid as we grow this season. What we want to do is we want to make sure our margins are solid. Take the time. You've heard me chat about this before. You need to figure out how much one client kit is. So when I say client kit, I mean, what are all of those materials that you need to see one client? That's your base cost. We're chatting from your disposables to your PPE to, of course, your gels, etc. What's in a kit? Do you send a toothbrush home, etc., etc.? The list goes on. Make a T-chart. Figure out your bottom dollar number. That's super important. And while you're doing this, figure out if you can make any changes. On one end, maybe you can cut some cost. One that I love to mention is if you're using a pen, chuck that sucker at the door. Pens are a waste of your time, okay? They're super messy to work with, and you are paying way too much for an item that you could be getting for same strength for half the cost if you switch to a syringe. Think about it. Really think about ditching those pens, guys. Pens are take home only. You should not be using those guys chairside. Now, from there, that's maybe you can cut some cost. On the flip side though, what if you could add some cost smartly to make your session a larger experience, elevate it, to then in return charge more money for it? Where am I going? If you are not using a pre-brush system at the moment, so you're not having your clients do a pre-brush and you're not sending them home, say with toothpaste, toothbrush, mouthwash, or something as simple as a chapstick, then of course your margins are going to be lower, but you get what you pay for, right? You're not going to be able to get as much traction with the bare minimums with a higher retail value. So you want to make sure that you are getting your lowest margin, but also offering the best service for a higher dollar amount. If you want to think about how you can jazz up your session, listed above are the things that I would highly recommend. This is what puts us into that higher dollar range, and it does definitely help. So think about that. That's what you want to do to get started in our organization here, is figure out your main cost. Can you get rid of anything? And on the flip side, can you add anything to make your experience more elevated? You need to make sure that your socials, your website, your landing page, whatever your online appearance is, covers the basics. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. If these are not covered consistently and very clearly, you are going to lose clients. let's dive in. Who are you? Your clients want to know who you are, what your background is, and also, obviously, you want to highlight why you are the preferred provider for this service in your area. What? Simple. What are you doing? You're doing chairside whitening. Explain your whitening process. Break down how long the session is. Of course, you don't have to go into the full nitty-gritties, but make sure that they really understand why they are coming to you and what it is. So a lot of people think chairside whitening and they're kind of confused. They don't fully understand, right? The first thing they're going to think of is, oh my gosh, it's a laser. I'm going to go get some laser whitening. And there's just a domino effect of course, all the nonsense that's on the internet. So really explain what you offer. Where's this going to take place? Are you a pop-up or are you at a location or in home? This is super important, and you really need to highlight the space, not only verbally, but visually. So if you're looking through any of those online appearances and you haven't once shown exactly where the client's going to be sitting or what your space looks like, that can be a huge deterrent for clients because they want to make sure that they understand where they're going, right? They don't want to make sure it's any sketchy area or doesn't look like it's a sanitary place. You can 100% have an in-home business and have an amazing space. So if you're saying that you're an in-home business, you really are going to have to additionally highlight on top of that what this space looks like. So make sure that is key, highlighted somewhere. Okay, where? Extra side note here, be as detailed as possible, especially say if you're in a downtown city core. Note where they can park. That's huge. Okay, so the more little details you can give your client, the more comfortable they're going to feel about going, and the more that they can look into beforehand to make sure that it is a fit for them. So who, what, where? Let's jump into why. Why do they want to come see you? You should be putting this out throughout your socials always, but things like, why should you do chairside whitening? Maybe you want to explain the difference between chairside whitening over a home kit, or your services compared to a dental office, why there is such a big wage gap there. Also, you might want to remind the client of you're doing this because maybe you are a high consumer of staining items. Really highlight coffee, tea, smoker, etc. because there's something about our brains that we'll overlook something until we see a specific that calls us personally out. Okay, so I drink a lot of red wine. If I see two teeth whitening technicians side by side and I didn't really know a ton about the service, and it says one highlights red wine and one doesn't highlight why or what stain you can help get rid of, then I'm gonna go with the one that specifically narrows out what I know I do. More details, the better. Where am I at? Who, what, where, when, and why? So what we also need to do is figure out what about when. You need to also highlight when should a client come see you. We know we always highlight after a cleaning, teeth cleaning, put that in there, as well as if they're pregnant, no go. And of course, we want to really make sure we are emphasizing that if you have holes, chips, active caries, etc., you're not a candidate for whitening. So when, this is when. Specifically more timelined, highlight events. Come see me anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks prior to your event, depending on your shade levels. And what about after? Well, We know that it's at least 2 weeks and then 3 to 6 months, most typically. Highlight that when. And how. You might want to throw this in if you feel like you really wanted to wrap it all up. Who, what, when, where, and how. How are you performing this service? Chat about it. You can highlight that you are a certified teeth whitening technician. Maybe you are also a dental professional. So how are you doing this? First off, it's your education background. So you've done the work. You are certified to do this. And then from there, it's kind of similar to your what, but you can break down again, highlighting how the session goes start to finish. Right now, go to your landing page, your socials, and see if you were a client, do your right straight front photos, anything that you have pinned, etc. Does it answer these questions? You want to make sure that your client can wrap all that up as quickly as possible, and of course, try to make it look as aesthetically pleasing as possible. Booking. You need to make your booking process dummy proof. Okay? Hear me out. There is so much on social media and our daily lives are so busy. How many times have you personally been late at night scrolling, you see a service and you're like, oh my gosh, I really want to do that, but they don't have an online booking link. Well, I'm not going to go back to that anytime soon because the next day when it would be actually during their office hours, I am not going to have time to call at all. So you should have a booking link. If you do not have a booking link, you need to make it pretty seamless on how they can contact you. At least have an email. That would be huge because phone-to-phone contact is not as common anymore. Maybe you're giving them a direct link to text you. That's huge. And then, of course, have your phone number there for the odd ones that do want to call. But usually calls are not happening unless they have specific questions for you. So really streamline that booking. If you are a super busy side hustle and you maybe work a full-time job during the week and this is in the evenings or on the weekends, then having your booking system as streamlined as possible is going to be huge. If you're trying to look for some free options, Fresha is free. Square are some free options. You could even go with something as simple as Calendly, not free, but it is pretty low cost. And from there, once you set up your booking link, make sure that you have your calendar organized so you can release the high season all at once. Because what's going to happen is, especially with say something like a wedding, a lot of brides and grooms, they are pre-booking in advance. So if your schedule is not open for that high season month fully, then you could be missing out on potential clients. Release your full high schedule all at once. If you find that you are getting cancellations or no-shows through a booking link, then make them put a visa down. Just do it. I know some people do have deposits required, up to you, but see how it goes. I really do find that it really depends on the surface or the client area on if you are getting no shows and etc. For example, like at our pop-ups, I do find that there are some locations that are more prone to it than others. So what are you going to do? Either run booking links without a visa or run booking links with a visa, but do what's right for you and your company. So guys, that was our mini Whitening Wednesday for how to get ready for high season. What are you going to do? First, you're going to really narrow in on your margins. Make sure that you have low cost dollars and that you are charging appropriate for your service offerings. That's huge. From there, we want to make sure that we cover our who, what, where, when, and why, plus the how of our online platforms. We need all this info there. The less questions that somebody has to contact you to answer, the more likely they're just going to automatically book. Okay? Make it crystal clear what your business is and what you are offering. Last thing, your booking link. Make sure it's dummy proof. It should be the easiest to get to, and it should be seamless on how to book an appointment with you. I hope you all have an amazing high season, and send in your tips of what you find works well for you or you find what doesn't work well for you, and we'll keep it going throughout our FAQs for the rest of our Whitening Wednesdays. So much for completing another Whitening Wednesday episode. Don't forget to check out our sponsor, Professional Whitening Products, for all of your teeth whitening technician needs.